Y'all want to see what Michelle Williams been up to since she started her solo career? She on Lifetime now. Chastity Jeffries is an amazing lawyer. She's hoping to make partner at the law firm, so she works so hard on every case she handles. To celebrate a recently won case, her friend tells Chastity it's time to drink, get rid of her chastity belt, and get her back broken. Coincidentally, a man named Xavier Collins has just been dumped by his fiancée because Xavier has an anger problem and punches walls. To help Xavier get over his ex, a friend advises him to start dating again. So that faithful night, Chastity and Xavier meet for the first time at a fancy bar. Chastity is impressed that Xavier is not only a hot guy, but he is also a big-shot lawyer at an established law firm. Hot guy? Bitch, where? At the end of the night, Xavier asks for her number. Chastity makes it clear she's laser-focused on work, but Xavier is not one to give up. He promises that if his call goes to voicemail once, he'll never call again. A few days later, Chastity visits her parents for her father's birthday. There's always been tension between her and her father, Victor, because of her profession. Victor is a noble defense attorney, so he's not so pleased with Chastity working for corporations, but Chastity says she got bills. Still, Chastity's mother, Sarah, reminds her to honor her parents regardless of their differences. Damn, they really have Beyoncé's mom acting opposite Michelle. Getting fed up with the lecture, Chastity answers her phone when it rings. It's Xavier. Grabbing the opportunity, Xavier asks Chastity out on a proper date. She agrees but insists she'll only have one drink. On their date night, Xavier sweeps Chastity off of her feet. He takes her to his house. Chastity shows why she a nasty girl. After that, Xavier assures her that he's not the one-night stand type of guy and that he genuinely likes her. Realizing she's found something good, Chastity continues to date Xavier. She's always happy with him, and he's an incredibly nice guy. But juggling work and a relationship proves to be challenging. Now that she has a new case on her hands, Chastity doesn't have time to see Xavier. She tells him they won't be able to talk for a week because she needs to focus. After 8 days, Chastity and Xavier go out on a date again. To Chastity's surprise, Xavier suddenly proposes. It all happens so fast, so Chastity thinks it's all a joke. Xavier explains that after not seeing Chastity for a week, he has realized how dangerously in love he is. As much as Chastity appreciates the act, she turns down Xavier. After that, Xavier takes Chastity home. Disappointed by being turned down, Xavier takes the ring he's been hiding and throws it over the bridge. A few weeks later, Chastity sees a familiar face at a restaurant. Roger Tompkins was from the same town, and it's been 8 years since they last saw each other. Roger is a businessman now, but he still prefers to stay in their old town rather than the big cities. So Chastity asks for his number to stay in touch. Xavier is jealous when he sees his girl with a different man, thinking she wants to see Roger's Lil Romeo. Chastity introduces the two before Roger finally says goodbye. Later that night, after Xavier touches her bootylicious, Chastity shares that Rogers now owns a karate dojo. They used to take karate classes together, but Chastity stopped going. She admits that she and Rogers dated for a year in high school. However, she thinks that if she stayed, she and Roger would be married by now. Xavier is a bit jealous of that, even though he tries to play it cool. Now that they've been official for some time, Chastity introduces Xavier to her friend, Melanie, and her foreign husband. During dinner, Xavier admits that he's an agnostic. Chastity, on the other hand, still believes in the 10 Commandments and the 7 deadly sins, although she's no longer a churchgoer. Melanie wonders how Chastity is going to introduce Xavier to her religious parents. But Chastity is not worried because she thinks Xavier is a good catch. When Chastity tells her that Xavier tried proposing, Melanie clocks it, saying Xavier is a little cuckoo for that. A few days later, Xavier gets in trouble at the firm for an email sent to the wrong person. His boss takes him off the case because he failed to follow protocol and inform them. Xavier is so frustrated, so Chastity invites him over for dinner to make him feel better. When Xavier arrives, Chastity is still on a video call with Roger. After the call, Xavier confronts Chastity for always giving too much time to her childhood friend. Chastity calls him out and says he's being irrational. The conversation soon escalates, and Chastity tells Xavier to leave. Xavier gets angry, so he smashes Chastity's phone on the floor before he leaves. 2 days later, Xavier shows up at the restaurant where Chastity is drinking with her colleagues. He gifts her with a new phone and apologizes for the way he acted. Girl, he ain't even fine enough to forgive. Chastity forgives him, but says they should just keep the distance between them. That's when Xavier blurts out that he's a survivor of child abuse. He says that his mother had him when she was very young. When she left for work, he was left with his grandmother, who was a very angry woman. Xavier's mother later died, and he suffered a little more in the hands of his grandmother. Xavier explains that he's never tried therapy before, but after what happened with Chastity, he's thinking of seeing a doctor so he can get better. After hearing the story, Chastity decides to stay with Xavier, but makes him promise not to snap at her like he did before. He a straight-up bugaboo. After a while, things start to get better, and Chastity becomes a junior partner at the firm. Soon she wants Xavier to meet her father. When the day comes, Victor remains calm while Xavier fanboys over him. It turns out that Xavier has read Victor's cases and studied them while he was still in college. He's in awe because Victor has made a name for himself. Despite their frequent arguments, Chastity still wants her father's approval, so she's sad when he says that Xavier is not good for her. Chastity is frustrated because her father has never been satisfied, especially since Destiny's Child disbanded. After the argument with her father, Chastity remains distant for the rest of the night. Xavier notices and thinks Chastity's silence has something to do with him. So Chastity reveals that her father doesn't approve of them dating. His approval means a lot, so his words carry weight. Xavier gets annoyed because he thinks it shouldn't matter whether Victor likes him or not. Xavier snaps when Chastity tells him to worry about his mommy issues. He shoves Chastity, and she almost gets hit by a car. Chastity has reached her limit and decides to break up with Xavier. Xavier explains he just started getting therapy, but no matter what he says, Chastity doesn't want to give him a third chance. To the left, everything you own. Oh, wrong song. Xavier is so furious that he creates a scene at the hospital. After the breakup, Xavier continues to see his therapist. He admits that he still tries to reach out to Chastity, but she never replies or answers his calls. The therapist warns Xavier of his obsession and advises him to move on from Chastity, but Xavier thinks it's love and not obsession. So instead of listening to the therapist, he chooses to stop attending therapy sessions altogether. Meanwhile, Chastity confides in Melanie that Xavier keeps calling her. She feels sorry for him, but there's no way she would get back with him. Chastity is not aware that Xavier has been watching them after he hacked into her laptop's camera. He even sees when Chastity spilt some wine on her old briefcase. The next day, Chastity receives a new briefcase from Xavier. She calls him right away and accuses him of spying on her. She thinks it can't be coincidence that he gave her a new briefcase after she spilt wine on her old one. Xavier denies the allegations, but Chastity gives him a final warning. Girl, I'd get a new laptop and changing my name to Tanitra. After that, Chastity gets her laptop checked and learns that there's spyware all over her device. She later confides in Roger, and they agree to meet the next day. The two are not aware that Xavier has been watching them from a safe distance. When Chastity comes to pick up her dog Duncan from the doggy daycare, she's surprised to find he's not there. It turns out that someone hacked Chastity's phone and sent a message to the daycare saying Xavier will pick up Duncan. When Chastity returns home, he finds Xavier holding Duncan over the stove. Xavier threatens to hurt the dog if Chastity refuses to talk to him. He even admits that every time Chastity makes him angry, he is tempted to hurt her. Suddenly, Chastity uses pepper spray on Xavier before running out of the house with Duncan. 12 hours later, Chastity is still hiding at her parents' house. She says that Xavier has been arrested and charged with battery. Chastity also filed a restraining order against him. With Xavier out of the picture, Roger and Chastity start to spend more time together. To help Chastity protect herself, Roger gives her self-defense lessons. Chastity starts to like Roger again.
And then I catch you out back in a lip lock. Y'all thought I didn't know what was going on, huh?
But Chastity doesn't want to live back in their hometown island, and Roger doesn't want to stay in Seattle. So for now, she enjoys his Lil Romeo. Meanwhile, Xavier's friend and coworker tells him to stop acting crazy because he'll get fired.
Just don't call me crazy.
Xavier hacks into Chastity's device and finds out where she is. He immediately goes to the island, and it doesn't take him long to find Chastity. Chastity panics and tells him to leave, but Xavier accuses her of not being a good Christian because she refuses to forgive him. Roger butts in to save Chastity, and Xavier tries to pop him, but he's white and Roger gets the upper hand. Xavier is soon arrested by the police in the area. That night, Grandpa Barack tells her, "I told you so." The next day, Chastity finds an animal heart in a box left outside their house. She is sure it's from Xavier. Apparently, Xavier has also trashed Roger's new karate dojo. The detective handling the case promises he's going to find Xavier as fast as he can. Chastity has learned a lot from Roger, and now she thinks she's now a soldier, and it's time to return to the city. He doesn't want her to go, but Chastity is defiant. She tells her mother her house is equipped with sophisticated security equipment, but just to be sure, her mother still gives her a gun. Before Chastity leaves, she calls Roger. They're unaware that Xavier has hacked into Chastity's phone and hears the conversation. As soon as Roger leaves the dojo, he is hit by a car and almost dies. Chastity visits the hospital with the detective after she learns what happened to Roger. Just when she's about to go home, Xavier abducts her. Chastity wakes up with a broken leg and knows that Xavier has officially gone off the rails. Her mother is worried that she's not home yet. Xavier threatens to shoot Chastity, so she immediately comes up with a plan to calm him down. Xavier explains that there's wrath inside of him, so Chastity offers to accompany him during therapy. She confesses she loves him a lot, and it's enough to get Xavier fooled. With his guard down, Chastity easily attacks Xavier and puts him in a chokehold until he loses consciousness. What a weak twink. Chastity thinks about getting back at Xavier, but she chooses mercy over her own wrath. Roger is now awake, and Chastity assures him that the bad times are over. 6 months later, Chastity visits Xavier in prison. She forgives him for what happened and says she'll pray for him. Xavier then apologizes sincerely. He thinks that all is well now, and even asks Chastity to put in a good word for him for his parole in a few years. So Chastity makes it clear that she only forgave Xavier for her own good, and not because she's looking to get back with him. Then she promises that will be the last time she's visiting him. After the bad things that happened to Chastity, Victor realizes he shouldn't have been so hard on his own daughter. He admits that he's always been proud of her. Chastity is overjoyed after hearing her father say all that. After all these years, that's all she's ever wanted. His approval. You know what? That was an okay movie. Good on Michelle for finding her own path. What did you guys think of this one?
Did y'all like that one? Honey, well, make sure you like and leave us a comment. I try to respond to as many as I can. And if you like Tubi, Lifetime, or just straight up trifling movies, make sure you subscribe for real. For more videos, you can click here or here.